Come, Nerevar, come, look upon the castles and keeps of Skyrim tier list. Of course, Nord architecture is inferior to Dunmer architecture, which I have praised on multiple occasions in my sermons. All the marvels of Nord architecture belong in the F tier. However, this would not be much of a tier list if they were all in the F tier, would it now? Moon and Star. Let us begin with Understone Keep in Markarth, a dwarven castle hidden in the mountainside, boasting a fancy waterfall entrance. It serves as a palace for the Jarl. Oh, and let's not forget the Dwemer Museum for the scholarly and the thrilling Dwemer ruins for the adventurous types. But do exercise caution, my dear Nerevar, for the Forsworn plague the region like vermin, occasionally finding their way even into the city. So, if you're fond of dodging arrows and exploring ruins, Markarth is the place for you. However, this is Markarth at the end of the day, one of the worst cities in Skyrim, so this automatically goes into the D tier. Don't expect anything related to Markarth to be any higher. Next, we have Mistveil Keep in Riften, a small keep that tries to appear grand with its stone walls amidst the sea of wooden mediocrity. It's almost cute how it clings to the hope of providing extra protection during conflicts like a civil war, perhaps. Its purpose is to house the Jarl, who likely spends their time counting stolen septums. Oh, and do keep an eye on your belongings unless you wish to donate them to the local pickpockets. Also, Maven Blackbriar lives here, and Mistveil Keep potentially becomes her castle if the mongrel dogs of the Empire take the city from the Stormcloaks. It belongs in the D tier. Now let's move on to Castle Dour in Solitude, a large fortress that serves as the Mongrel Dog Imperial Legion's headquarters and the temporary residence of the Mongrel Dog Emperor in Skyrim. It's a militarized monstrosity, my friend, lacking any proper public facilities, so unless you have an insatiable craving for castles, I would suggest exploring other places of interest. The Enwas outside can marvel at its imposing walls, while we bask in the glory of being above such dull constructs. D tier. Ah, the Blue Palace, the seat of power for Skyrim, home to the pompous High King himself, or should I say, High Queen at this point, because, you know, Torrig got shouted at by an angry Enwa Karen, otherwise known as Ulfric Stormcloak. It perches on the arch, commanding attention once you pass the underwhelming Castle Dour. The interior is nothing short of lavish, designed to entertain the noblest of nobility. But do remember, my dear Nerevar, only the well-dressed and the invited are welcome. Rags and uninvited guests will be promptly shown the exit, most likely with a generous boot to the posterior. What a grand and intoxicating innocence. Oh, and if you go to a certain dilapidated area of the castle, you might meet a certain acquaintance of mine that I will not mention by name, because the moment I do, he will not stop talking about cheese. Just because visually it looks better than Castle Dour, I will give it the generous C tier. Now let us delve into the Palace of the Kings in Windlehm, a grand castle situated at the far end of the city. It even has a second wall separating it from the city, as if saying, we are better than you. Oh, how it boasts of being one of the last remnants of a bygone era, with its ancient Enwa kings and commemorative plaques. Windlehm, the glorious city that was once the capital of the First Empire of the Nords, was founded by Ysgramor himself. Quite the historical marvel, my dear Nerevar, if you enjoy the freezing temperatures and a bunch of Dunmer-hating ruffians. Is this how they honor the Sixth House and the tribe unmourned? But I suppose it may hold some sentimental value to those who revel in nostalgia. I will put it in the C tier. Dragonsreach, the residence of the Jarl of Whiterun Hold, is a palace perched high in the Cloud District of Whiterun. Its main entrance is conveniently located at the top of 3 flights of stairs, just in case you weren't winded enough from climbing. It's said to have been built around a captured dragon, adding a touch of mystique to the Jarl's throne. A visit here may provide fleeting amusement, but its true worth is questionable at best. Oh, and don't mind any odd talking doors and strange Nord-Enwa kids running around the castle. Nothing suspicious is happening in this castle at all. I will give this one a B tier since it is one of the more palatable ones. Jorvaskr, an ancient mead hall in Whiterun, has quite the story to tell. Constructed from the hull of a longship used by the 500 companions. A ship? Nerevar, really? They literally carried a ship all the way from the northern coast to the heart of Skyrim, flipped it upside down, and now call it a hall, oh, these Nords. It supposedly symbolizes their conquest of Skyrim from the pitiful snow elves, as if being enslaved by the Dwemer wasn't enough. Founded at the foot of the Skyforge, the hall's wooden hull proudly stands as a reminder of its origins. The Mead Hall's origin story, surrounded by fear and superstition, merely adds to its laughable appeal. The city of Whiterun even had the audacity to grow around it. I'm sure you'll find the place positively enchanting with its Nordic aesthetics, Nerevar, if you don't mind the smell of dogs and sweat. It belongs in the D tier. Fort Dawnguard, located southeast of Riften, is a large fort serving as the base of operations for the Dawnguard, those self-proclaimed vampire hunters. Built to contain a vampire son, it was eventually abandoned by the people of Skyrim. But fear not, for some vigilants of Stendarr have made it their new home, thinking themselves the old Dawnguard, defending the realm against the vampire scum. A futile endeavor, I assure you. Just to clarify, though, us ash vampires have no love for the spawn of Molag Bal. Beyond that, the scenic views you find on the way are a sight to see. Surely a treat for anyone with a knack for trekking through troll-infested woods. The fort is more impressive than some other buildings, so I will give it an A tier. Why are you looking at me like that? Seriously, it is still better than all of these other places we've covered. Now, Nerevar, we come to Castle Volkihar, an ancient structure mired in dark rumors and whispered tales of horror. Its origins claim to have existed since the Merethic era, and it stands as a reminder of the foolish mortals who indulge in vampiric delusions. Unless one harbors a morbid desire to join Molag Bal's brood or meet a painful demise, I would advise steering clear of this forsaken place. But should you choose to venture there, be sure to bring an abundance of garlic. It may not save you, but it will surely provide an amusing spectacle. C tier, but please don't tell Serana. If you are enjoying this tier list, please subscribe to my sermons, raise your thumbs, and write on the parchment down below. Now, let us turn our attention to two locations worthy of special mention, though worthy is perhaps an overstatement. The first is the College of Winterhold, a school of magic that prides itself on its independence from the Mages Guild. It boasts a grandiose campus, complete with a stone bridge and a courtyard. Oh, the wonders it holds. Dating back to the late Second Era, or so they claim, with the infamous mage Shalador said to have founded it in the even more dubious First Era. The Hall of the Elements, their precious main building, houses their laughable attempts at magical practice. And oh, the famous Arcaneum Library, filled with dusty tomes and forgotten knowledge. Beneath it all lies the Midden, a remnant of their past, where secrets are supposedly kept. But I assure you, Nerevar, their secrets pale in comparison to the depths of our own wisdom. It is also run by a Dunmer, so as much as I dislike the College of Winterhold as a faction, it is an S-tier building at the end of the day. Lastly, we have High Hrothgar, the secluded monastery atop Skyrim's highest peak, the throat of the world. Oh, how the Enwa greybeards revel in their isolation, their lofty perch granting them a false sense of superiority. To reach this sanctimonious abode, one must endure the arduous journey of climbing the 7,000 steps, beginning in the insignificant town of Ivarstead. I call it arduous, but an average Dunmer in Morrowind walks 20,000 steps a day. Do mind the trolls, bears, and slippery steps on your way up, Nerevar. The Nords, in their delusion, believe Kind's breath created them upon this peak. Oh, the legends they concoct. Even if one manages to get to the top alive and unfrozen, only few are allowed entry into the halls, reserved only for the chosen ones who wish to be trained in the way of the voice. Oh, how exclusive. I am a god, how can you exclude a god? And how fortunate we are to be above such petty mortal aspirations. However, the views from up there on a clear day are impressive, I must admit. I will give it a B tier. This is it for this tier list, Nerevar. Yes, you might think this ranking is generous, but keep in mind it is within the F tier after all. Don't forget to honor the 6th house and the tribe unmourned by raising your thumbs, subscribing to my sermons, and writing on the parchment down below. I would like to thank 6th House Records for writing this tier list. I would also like to thank my Patreons, Connor Runda and Tanya Davis.